Lena Carter sits rigid in a velvet chair in a Manhattan rooftop restaurant and wants to scream into the ice bucket. The place smells like truffle oil and money. Every table is filled with couples in perfect outfits. Violins play something soft and important in the background. Her pink dress, chosen by her mother, sparkles under the chandeliers like a live embarrassment. Her phone lights up again. Call from mom. She hits reject. It lights up again. She grits her teeth and answers. Mom, if you call one more time, I am going to fake my own death. Lena, do not you dare hang up on me. Her mother sounds like a drill sergeant with a floral apron. Listen to me. This man is a real lawyer, not your screenplay lawyer. He is 30, stable, tall, and polite. His name is Mark Green. Remember it, Mark Green. You are 25. If you miss this chance, I will sell your laptop, and your ring light, and your entire lazy screenwriter career. Screenwriter. Lena corrects under her breath. And I am freelance, not lazy. What was that? Nothing, Mom. I heard you. Mark Green. Lawyer. Life or death. Got it. You look at him with soft eyes. Her mother continues. You do not talk about aliens, zombies, or morally gray villains. You smile. You listen. You say you love kids. I do not love kids. Tonight you do. And no sarcasm. No jokes. Men are scared of women who joke. Then I want the wrong man. Lena says. Lena Carter. Fine. I will be soft and boring. Happy? Call me after it goes well. Her mother hangs up without waiting. Lena drops the phone on the table and stares at the empty chair across from her. Her stomach twists. It is not excitement. It is dread. She loves writing stories where messy women blow up their lives. She does not want to live one. A waiter appears at her side. Still waiting, miss. Apparently for my future. Lena says. He is late. The waiter gives a professional smile and glides away. She drums her fingers on the tablecloth and imagines her main character. A woman who refuses to marry unless the meet cute involves a traffic accident, and a mistaken identity, and maybe a stolen dog. Her own life gives her nothing but blind dates in overpriced restaurants. A shadow falls over the table. Miss Carter? She looks up. The man standing there looks like he walked out of a magazine spread called Cold Billionaire at midnight. Dark suit, crisp white shirt, no tie, strong jaw, neat hair, eyes the color of burnt espresso. His posture is all control and zero humor. He is also, without question, the handsomest human she has seen in real life. Her brain misfires. Lawyer, she thinks. Mark Green. Her mother wins. She pops to her feet. You are late. One of his brows lifts. Excuse me. For our date. She gestures at the chair. Sit down before my mother appears out of thin air and handcuffs us together. A beat of silence stretches. The man studies her, and something flickers in his eyes. Amusement, maybe. I see, he says slowly. So you are Jessica. Lena blinks. I am definitely not Jessica. I am Lena. You know, the one whose mother threatened to sell her laptop. His features relax just a little. My grandmother threatened to rewrite her will. I guess we both lost. Congratulations to us. Lena says. Sit. Let us suffer together. He sits. The waiter circles back, clearly relieved, and fills their glasses with water. Lena leans across the table. Full disclosure before we fake normal. I am only here because my mother thinks my uterus has an expiration date. I am a screenwriter. I work from my couch. I like naps more than yoga. I do not have a 5-year plan. I do not want to impress you. I want to survive this meal. A slow grin pulls at one corner of his mouth. It changes his whole face. Less statue, more human. Full disclosure from my side. I run a tech company. My board thinks I am a robot. My grandmother thinks marriage is an emergency project. She told me my date would be a soft-spoken, elegant woman named Jessica. You do not look soft-spoken. Thank you. Lena says, choosing to take it as a compliment. So we are both hostages. Apparently. Great. Then let us make a pact. We eat one course, swap a decent story, then tell our families we tried our best, and it did not work. Mutual escape. Efficient. He says. I like efficient. Of course you do. You look like you schedule your showers. He gives a short laugh, surprised. I am Ian Walker, by the way. She freezes. The name hits her like a headline. Walker. As in Walker Technologies. As in the tech giant she sees on every billboard. She looks down at his watch, at the tiny subtle logo on his cuff link, and wants to scream. She has mistaken a billionaire for a mid-tier lawyer. She forces a casual smile. Nice to meet you, Ian. I see your grandmother did not tell you your date would be a chaos gremlin. He seems to relax further, as if her complete lack of awe is refreshing. She left that part out. They fall into an easy rhythm. They complain about relatives, swap horror stories about holiday dinners, and rank the most absurd things people have said to them about marriage. My aunt promised to set me up with her dentist, Lena says. Her sales pitch was he flosses. Strong argument. Ian says dryly. My cousin tried to sell me on his friend by saying she bakes gluten-free cookies. I do not eat cookies. It almost caused a family war. Lena laughs so hard she almost chokes. For the first time that evening, she forgets about Mark Green and the script of her supposed life. Then chaos explodes. Lena. A voice behind her makes her spine lock. She turns and sees a man in a shiny suit, hair gelled within an inch of its life, striding toward their table. He waves like a game show host. There you are. I am Mark. Sorry I am late. Traffic was insane. You look even prettier than your photos. Lena stares. You are Mark. Obviously. He stops, finally noticing Ian. His smile falters. And you are who? At the same time, a woman in a tight red dress stalks toward them on tall heels. She radiates perfume and impatience. Ian, you are supposed to be with me. Jessica, Lena thinks. Ian stands slowly. His expression shifts from amused to glacial. You are late. Only 15 minutes. Jessica says. I was picking the right lipstick. Why are you sitting with some random girl? Random girl. Nice. Lena steps aside so nobody ends up with a fork in their eye. Mark looks her up and down with a frown. You started without me? Kind of rude, Lena. I expected better from a lady. Wow. She says. And I expected better from a lawyer who thinks being on time is optional. Oh, I am not a lawyer yet. Mark says quickly. I am preparing for the bar. Doing consulting for now. But that is not the point. You should not flirt with someone else on our first date. It makes you look cheap. The word lands like a slap. Lena feels heat rise in her face, partly humiliation, partly anger. Ian steps closer to her, so suddenly that Mark and Jessica both pause. Careful. Ian says quietly. Watch how you talk to my wife. Everything stops. Lena turns her head very slowly. Sorry, your what? Wife. He repeats, eyes still on Mark. We got married this afternoon. Jessica laughs, high and fake. Do not be stupid. You do not even know her. Ian finally looks at Lena, and in his eyes she sees a question and a dare at once. He could throw her under the bus, say he is joking, apologize to his grandmother, go on with the safe plan. Or they could blow up both of their scripts at once. Lena feels something wild rise in her chest. She thinks of her mother threatening to sell her laptop. She thinks of Mark calling her cheap after being late. She thinks of Jessica eyeing Ian like a prize. She smiles, sharp and bright. He is not joking. She says. We left the city hall an hour ago. Mark splutters. That is insane. Jessica snaps. You cannot just marry some freelancer off the street. Screenwriter. Lena corrects. And I can marry whoever I want. Ian asked. I said yes. It was very romantic. There were vending machines. The waiter, who has been frozen nearby, chokes on a laugh he tries to hide. Ian leans in. Do you regret it already? He murmurs, voice low. Lena holds his gaze. Ask me again after dessert. His mouth curves. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a folded document. He places it on the table, smooth and official. Lena stares at the seal of the city. He really did it. At some point between his grandmother and this restaurant, he stopped at City Hall and picked up a marriage license, just in case. The idea must have been a joke. Until now. Sign it. He says softly. Her heart hammers. She thinks of every plot twist she has ever written. None of them feel as reckless as this. She picks up the pen. Her signature looks small and stubborn on the line next to his precise, expensive name. Ian slips the paper back into his jacket like it is a done contract and turns to their stunned audience. Now if you will excuse us. He says, voice smooth as ice. My wife and I have a dinner to finish. Lena links her arm through his because if she does not hold on to something, she might float off the floor. She tells herself it is a performance, a stunt, a story she can tell later. Deep down, a tiny voice whispers that she has just written the first page of the most dangerous script of her life. The Walker estate is not a house. It is a kingdom with a driveway. The car glides past iron gates, through manicured lawns, around a fountain big enough to drown a car. The mansion that rises ahead has more windows than Lena has socks. Warm light spills from tall panes, glinting off marble and glass. She presses her face to the window like a child at a toy store. Please tell me this is a very realistic movie set. It is home, Ian says. Do not let it scare you. Too late. My student loans are trembling. They step inside, and the foyer punches the breath out of her. High ceilings, sweeping staircase, art that probably has its own alarm system. A chandelier hangs like frozen fireworks. You live here alone? She asks. With staff. He says. Security, cleaning, a driver. Sometimes my grandmother. Sometimes? She materializes whenever she smells gossip. Lena laughs, nervous and giddy. Does she know you married a chaos gremlin from Brooklyn today? Not yet. Great. Let me settle in before she tries to perform an exorcism. He carries her small suitcase up the stairs. She trails after him, feeling like a cartoon mouse who wandered into a royal castle. He shows her a bedroom that is bigger than her entire apartment. The bed looks like royalty sleeps there and dreams in silk. This is you. He says. If you want it, we can take this slow. This does not have to be a real marriage. She flops on the bed and sinks into the mattress. It feels like a hug from a cloud. Define real. We can keep it on paper for our families. He says. Share public events, holidays, but live separate lives. You can keep writing. I can keep working. When things calm down, if you want out, we file for divorce. Lena stares at the ceiling. Do you want out? He hesitates. I do not know yet. Today was not about logic. Same, she says. Maybe we do this. Fake in public, honest in private. No pretending in the house. No lying about who we are. He nods slowly. Honest in private. I can live with that. Later, in the kitchen, the illusion of perfection breaks. She finds Ian in front of the fridge, frowning at a carton of eggs as if it insulted his ancestors. Problem? She asks. I told the staff they could go home early. He says. I thought I would cook to celebrate. How hard can it be to make eggs? The stove behind him looks untouched, shining and intimidating. You have never cooked in your life, Lena says. I have watched videos. He says defensively. There is fire and a pan. She takes the eggs away from him. Step aside, corporate prince. I grew up with a mother who believed in feeding stress. I can make a decent omelet with my eyes closed. She cracks eggs, chops leftover vegetables, slides everything into a pan with practiced motion. He watches like she is performing magic. You do that a lot, he says quietly. Cook. Make something out of nothing. She flips the omelet and pretends the warmth in his voice does not get to her. The first days turn into a strange, messy rhythm. Ian leaves early for the office, suits and schedules and back-to-back meetings. Lena writes in the sunny breakfast nook, laptop open, coffee mug beside her. She steals lines of dialogue from his phone calls, names from his board members, and details from his perfectly ironed shirts. At night, they collide in the kitchen again, both pretending they did not plan it. The first disaster happens on day 3. She walks into the smell of smoke and something tragic. Ian stands at the stove, holding a pan that looks like it survived a battle. A black circle that used to be an egg sits in the middle. I followed the directions. He protests. It said high heat. For 2 seconds, not 2 minutes. Lena says. She opens a window and waves the smoke alarm with a dish towel until it stops beeping. Congratulations, you invented a new element. Char egg. Do not tell my board. He says. They think I can master anything. She grins. Relax. Your secret is safe with your wife. The word hangs between them for a second. Wife. Husband. They sound wrong and right at the same time. She distracts herself by opening a cupboard. Inside, dishes are lined up like soldiers. Nothing personal, nothing soft. The only hint of chaos in this entire palace is the smell of burned egg and the loosened tie at Ian's throat. Why is there no junk drawer? She whispers. Where do you hide menus and batteries and shame? I have systems. He says. You have issues. The front door slams downstairs. Lena. A voice calls. Lena Carter, where are you? Lena stiffens. That is my mother. Ian blinks. How does she know where I live? She tracks my phone. Lena says. Do not ask. Mrs. Carter storms into the kitchen like a small hurricane in a floral blouse. She stops short when she sees the scene. Smoky air, blackened egg, her daughter in pajama shorts, and a man in a half-undone suit. Her gaze drops to Lena's bare ring finger. Lena. She whispers slowly. Why are you in a billionaire's kitchen and why do you not have a ring? Mom, this is Ian. Lena says. We got married. Her mother opens and closes her mouth like a fish. Married. To the wrong man. You were supposed to marry Mark. He is a lawyer. He has a steady job. I have several steady jobs. Ian says politely. I run Walker Technologies and a few subsidiaries. Mrs. Carter squints at him. You are the Walker and Walker Technologies? Yes, Ma, I am. She leans against the counter for support. You married my daughter. Yes. You are not lying. No. She takes one breath, 2, 3. Then she grabs Lena's shoulders. You married a billionaire and did not tell me? It happened kind of fast. Lena says weakly. Her mother glares. You eloped with a billionaire faster than I can burn a pancake. Lena Carter, I raised you better than this. You should have called me to watch. Then she rounds on Ian. Do you love her? He pauses, eyes flicking to Lena. Honesty in private, they agreed. This is not private. It is messy, emotional, and loud. I respect her. He says. I like her. I want to see where this goes. I promise you I will not treat her like a deal. Mrs. Carter studies him, measuring wealth against sincerity. Finally she nods once. Good. Because if you hurt her, I will come back with my slipper. Your slipper. Ian repeats. It has raised a generation. She says. Do not test it. When she leaves, finally satisfied that the billionaire is at least afraid of her, Lena leans against the fridge and laughs until her stomach hurts. You handled that well. Ian says. You did. She says. Welcome officially to the Carter family. It is loud. There is food. Nobody respects personal space. Sounds familiar. He says. The Walkers are the same. They just wear more pearls. They share a smile over the scorched pan, unsure whether this palace is a prison or the strangest, safest place she has ever been. The first time Jessica White shows up at the gate, Lena thinks the security cameras are lying. She is in the kitchen, typing, when the intercom buzzes. A guard informs Ian that a Miss White is demanding to speak with him. Send her away. Ian says without looking up from his laptop. The guard hesitates. She says she will call the press. Ian sighs. Fine, let her in. Keep an eye on her bag. Lena peeks through the living room window as Jessica steps out of a red sports car and onto the driveway like she owns it. High heels, short dress, hair blown out to perfection. She marches to the door and rings the bell like it insulted her. Ian opens before Lena can reach it. Jessica shoves her sunglasses up and gives Ian a smile that does not reach her eyes. We need to talk, Ian. No, we do not. He says. She spots Lena over his shoulder and snorts. So it is true. You married her. Lena folds her arms. Her has a name. Jessica waves a manicured hand. Relax. I am not here for your husband. I am here for justice. This is not a courtroom. Ian says. It will be if I make it one. Jessica shoots back. She pulls her phone from her bag. I have messages. Screenshots. You led me on. Your grandmother promised a future. I told people. Do you know how humiliating it is to tell everyone you are about to be the next Mrs. Walker, and then find out you married some girl from the discount section of life? Lena sucks in a breath. Wow. She says. Direct hit. Ian steps closer to Jessica, voice even. My grandmother arranged one dinner. That is not a promise of marriage. I never told you I loved you. I never told you I would propose. We had coffee twice. That is all. You invited me to the shareholder gala. Jessica snaps. I invited you as a guest. He says. My mistake. You investigated me. She says, eyes flashing. You dug through my life like I was a criminal. Because you hacked my assistant's email and sent confidential documents to my cousin. Ian says coldly. You used my name to reach out to small investors and pitched fake opportunities. I have the records. Jessica goes pale, then rallies with anger. That is business. Everyone does it. Not with my company. He says. You are not here for justice. You are here because you lost access to my money. Lena watches, heart pounding. This is not one of her scripts. This is clearer, harsher. Jessica turns on her, eyes burning. You think he really wants you? You are entertainment. You are a rebellion in a cheap dress. When he is done playing, he will come back to someone who understands his world. Lena feels the words like knives, but she also feels something else. Ian stepping in front of her. No. He says quietly. When I am done learning how to cook eggs and watching bad reality shows at midnight, I will still be with her. Because she is not a project, Jessica. She is my wife. Jessica laughs, brittle and sharp. You will regret this. She pulls out her phone, thumb flying across the screen. Fine. If you will not listen to me, maybe the internet will. Lena takes a step forward. Post whatever you want, she says. But make sure you spell my name right. The clicks might help my next screenplay. Jessica pauses, thrown. Lena smiles, feeling something warm and fierce rise in her chest. I am writing about a woman who thinks money is the only way to win. She schemes, she lies, she underestimates everyone. In the end, she loses everything, not because the world is unfair, but because she never learned what real value is. You are mocking me, Jessica hisses. I am working, Lena says. You just walked into my research. Jessica stares at her, then at Ian, then spins on her heel. This is not over. She spits, stalking back to her car. When the gate closes behind her, Lena exhales, shaking. I did not know you had that in you, Ian says. She lifts her chin. I write revenge for a living. You think I cannot deliver a monologue in my own house? He laughs, the sound low and honest. You were perfect. She looks at him, really looks, and sees pride there. Not in her as a convenient wife, but in her as herself. Thank you, she says quietly, for backing me up. I will always back you up, he says. That is what partners do. The word partner settles between them, heavy and new. That night, she opens a blank document and types a title without thinking. Accidental Vows. She stares at it for a long time, heart beating fast. Maybe this marriage is not just chaos. Maybe it is material. Maybe if she is brave enough, it is both. The text from Mark comes on a lazy Sunday afternoon. Lena is on the couch in leggings and an oversized sweater, watching a cooking show with Ian. He takes notes like it is a board meeting. She takes notes because the host is hotter than the food. Her phone buzzes. Hey Lena. Long time no see. I heard about your little stunt. Marrying some rich guy you barely know. That is not you. Let us talk. I am outside. She sits up straight. You have got to be kidding me. Problem? Ian asks. Mark is here, she says. He is outside the gate. Ian's jaw tightens. Security can send him away. She looks at the message again. Another bubble pops up. We both know this marriage is fake. You cannot keep up the act. Come talk. I can help you. Anger flares. Mark does not know her. He met her once and still thinks he owns the narrative. No, she says slowly. Let him in. Ian frowns. Lena. I am not going alone, she adds. You stay close, but let me handle him, please. Honest in private, they agreed. The truth right now is simple. She is tired of being the joke in other people's stories. Mark strolls into the living room like he is touring a museum. His eyes sweep over the art, the furniture, the view, and fill with greedy calculation. Nice place, he says. You upgraded. Lena stays seated. Ian leans against the doorway, silent and watchful. Mark gives Lena a smile he probably practiced in the mirror. Listen, I get it. You panicked. Your mom pushed. This guy looked shiny. So you rushed into something. It happens. But there is a way out. I am not looking for an exit, Lena says. Sure you are. Mark continues, as if she has not spoken. This is all show. The press loves it. The poor girl and the billionaire. But when it ends, you will be the one who looks like a gold digger. That is bad for your career, for your mom, for everyone. He leans closer. Here is my proposal. You pay me a small compensation fee. I walk away. I tell people you broke off with me before meeting him. Clean timeline, clean story, no scandal. Lena stares at him. You want me to pay you hush money. Compensation. He corrects. I invested my time, my image, my future. Also, I know things about your husband now. I could talk to some reporters. Or certain competitors. People love bad press about tech giants. Ian shifts, but Lena lifts a hand to stop him. How much? She asks. Mark smiles wider. See, I knew you were reasonable. For you, a discount. $1 million. Ian snorts softly from the doorway. You are out of your mind. Mark glances at him. Your money, her piece, seems fair. Lena lets out a breath, slow and dramatic. You are right about one thing, she says. Stories matter. He grins. Exactly. I can make sure yours stays pretty. But you forget something important. She continues. I am not the side character in this plot. I write the script. He blinks. What? She reaches for her laptop on the coffee table and taps a few keys. On the television, the cooking show freezes. The screen switches to a recording. Mark's face appears, sitting at a bar, bragging. I work best with desperate women. His recorded voice says, smug. Tell them what they want to hear. Promise long term. Then suggest an investment. They hand over their savings. Easy money. Mark goes white. Turn that off. The recording continues. If they complain, you act hurt. Say they misunderstood. Nobody believes a woman over a man in a suit. He lunges at the remote. Ian steps in his way. Sit down. Ian says. Mark glares at Lena. You recorded me. Of course I did. She says. When you tried to con me on our date, I had a bad feeling. So I set up another meeting. Played along. Got you talking. I am a writer. People love to monologue around me. You cannot use that. He snaps. It is illegal. It is legal enough for the women you scammed to recognize your voice. She says. I looked them up. 3 of them. 2 agreed to talk. 1 cried on the phone. He swallows. You do not have proof. She waves at the screen. I have your words. I have their bank statements. I have text messages. I have a cop friend who kindly explained how to chain all of that together. He was very interested. There is a knock at the open door. As if on cue, a uniformed officer appears, hat in hand. Mr. Green? Mark almost jumps out of his seat. This is harassment. He sputters. She set me up. She gave us evidence. The officer says. And 3 separate complaints. You are under arrest for fraud and theft. The next minutes blur. Handcuffs, rights, protests. Mark throws desperate looks at Ian. Do something. He begs. You are rich. You can fix this. Ian meets his gaze, eyes cold. I do not fix men who prey on women. He says. I ruin them. When the patrol car finally rolls down the driveway, taking Mark with it, silence floods the living room. Lena sinks back on the couch, adrenaline wearing off. Her hands shake. Ian sits beside her without a word. You all right? He asks quietly. She nods, then laughs weakly. I feel like I just pitched a thriller. You planned that. He says. Half planned. She admits. Half improv. He studies her, something like awe in his eyes. You are terrifying. Thank you. She says. He reaches over and takes her hand. Their fingers fit together like it is the most natural thing in the world. Next time someone treats you like a side note. He says. Remember this. You are never a side note in your own story. Under the warm weight of his hand, Lena believes him. Dinner with the Carters and the Walkers together is less a meal and more a live grenade with candles. Ian's grandmother insists on hosting at the estate. She wants, in her words, to see what kind of girl stole my grandson from the plan. Lena's mother insists on bringing 3 casseroles and a cake, because rich people food is too small. The dining room table groans under the weight of crystal, silverware, and emotional expectations. Lena smooths her dress and whispers to Ian. If this goes badly, we fake food poisoning and run away. We will be fine. He says. That is what people say before disasters. Guests arrive like a parade of personalities. Grandma Walker arrives in pearls and power. She kisses Ian's cheeks, then turns her sharp eyes on Lena. So, she says. You are the girl who kidnapped my grandson from his destiny. Nice to meet you too. Lena says. I am Lena. I write stories for a living, so kidnapping is in my skill set. Grandma snorts in spite of herself. At least you are not boring. Aunt Meredith sweeps in next, husband in tow, eyes already glittering with gossip. She air kisses everyone, then pulls Lena aside. Dear. She says in a voice dripping with sugar and poison. I heard you are a writer. That is so cute. A little hobby keeps a wife busy. It is a full-time job. Lena says. Oh, I see. Meredith continues. Well, once you have children, you will not have time for silly little scripts. You can always go back to it when you are old. Before Lena can respond, her mother arrives, dragging a cooler. Move, move. Mrs. Carter says. I brought real food. She spots Meredith hovering over her daughter and narrows her eyes. And who are you? I am Meredith Walker. The woman announces. Ian's aunt. Mrs. Carter smiles a smile that shows teeth. Wonderful. I am the mother of the woman your nephew begged to marry. Meredith blinks. Begged. I was there in spirit. Mrs. Carter says. I know how this works. They all eventually take their seats. The table divides naturally. The Walkers with their wine glasses and practiced posture. The Carters with their loud opinions and generous plates. Conversation starts polite and goes downhill fast. So, Lena. Meredith says loudly between bites of roast. Do you plan to quit your little writing thing soon? You know, focus on giving the family an heir. Lena chokes on her water. Ian starts to speak, but she presses her knee against his, a silent signal. Honest in private, united in public. I plan to keep writing. Lena says calmly. My last script was shortlisted for a major festival. The new one is getting interest from 3 production companies. My work pays better than my old office job. Meredith waves a hand. That is nice, dear. But money is not everything. Stability matters. Ian needs a wife who can support him, not play with stories. Mrs. Carter slams her fork down. My daughter has supported herself since she was 22. She snaps. She pays her own rent. She bought me a new fridge last year with her silly little stories. What do you do besides insult people and wear pearls? The table falls silent. Grandma Walker covers a laugh with a cough. Meredith recovers and tilts her head at Ian. Nephew, surely you agree. Your wife should step back a little. A billion-dollar company is demanding. You need peace at home. Ian sets his glass down carefully. You are right, he says. Lena's stomach drops. I do need peace at home. He continues. That is exactly why I married someone who makes her own money, her own choices, and her own joy. Lena is not my assistant. She is my partner. I do not want her to shrink for me. I want her to shine next to me. Across the table, Lena's mother dabs at her eyes with a napkin. I like him, she says. We keep him. Meredith sputters. You are choosing this girl over your family? I am choosing my wife as part of my family, Ian says. If anyone has a problem with that, they can stay home next holiday. Grandma Walker lifts her glass. To wives who write and grandsons who grow spines, she says. Everyone who is not Meredith or her husband laughs and drinks. Later, when dessert arrives, Grandma taps her fork against her glass. Attention, she says. I have an announcement. The room quiets. I had plans, she says. I wanted Ian to marry a woman I chose. I thought I knew best. I see now that I was wrong. He chose better than I ever could. This marriage started in chaos, but I have watched them. They respect each other. They make each other less lonely. That matters more than status. Lena feels her throat tighten. So, Grandma finishes. I am updating my will. Ian remains my heir. Lena, if you break his heart, I will haunt you. If he breaks yours, you get the house. The room erupts in laughter. Ian leans over and murmurs in Lena's ear. I promise not to make you a widow just for the real estate. She laughs, tears bright in her eyes. Good. I would have to write a tragedy. A year later, Lena stands behind the curtain of a small downtown theater and tries not to hyperventilate. The marquee outside reads accidental vows in glowing letters. The lobby was full of people holding programs with her name on them. Somewhere out there, an audience is waiting to watch the first screening of the show she wrote, based on her own insane life. Back when she typed that title in Ian's kitchen, it was a joke. Now it is real, with actors and lighting and a streaming deal. She touches the simple gold band on her finger and presses her other hand to her stomach. You are not allowed to throw up, a familiar voice says behind her. The camera crew is already set up. She turns. Ian stands in a dark suit, tie slightly loosened as always, holding 2 paper cups of tea. You look like a very handsome extra, she says. I am the emotional support husband, he says. Biggest role of my life. He hands her a cup. She takes a sip, then stares at him. Do you ever regret it? She blurts. He frowns. Regret what? The restaurant, she says. The stunt, the paper, the eggs, the chaos, me. He sets his cup down and steps close. Every morning, he says seriously. I wake up, look at you drooling on my pillow, and think, what a terrible decision. She gasps. Rude. He smiles. Then you kick me out of the bathroom, steal my toast, and tell me the ending of your latest episode, and I realize it was the only decision that ever made sense. Her chest aches in that way she has learned means love and terror mixed. She opens her mouth to say something, but the stage manager appears. Lena, you are up in 2 minutes. Okay, she says. Her voice squeaks. Ian squeezes her shoulders. Hey, you wrote this. You survived worse than a crowd. Like your aunt at dinner, she says. Exactly. She takes a deep breath and steps onto the small stage. The lights brighten. Faces swim before her, her mother in the front row, Grandma Walker beside her, both wearing shirts that say proud of the writer in glitter. Meredith is not here. That is fine. Lena grips the microphone stand. Hi, she says. I am Lena Carter. A year ago, I accidentally married a billionaire. Laughter ripples through the seats. I did not plan it. She continues. I went to a blind date as a hostage, met the wrong man, and signed something I did not fully understand. Do not do that at home, kids. More laughter. What I learned. She says, voice softening, is that life does not care about our neat plans. It throws us into chaos. It gives us people at the wrong time. It makes us look foolish. The trick is to decide which chaos is worth keeping. Which person feels like home, even when you are both lost. This show is about that. It is about choosing each other, again and again, after the mistake. She looks at Ian. He smiles up at her, pride shining from every line of him. And for the record, she says, I would sign that paper again. The crowd claps. The lights dim. The show begins. Later, after the screening, after the Q&A, after the handshakes and cameras, Ian pulls her onto the empty stage. What are you doing? She laughs. He drops to one knee. Her breath catches. I know we are already married, he says, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. But the first time I asked, I was hiding behind anger and panic. The second time should be different. He opens the box. Inside is a ring that is simple and bright, a stone that catches the fading theater lights. Lena Carter, he says. I want to keep choosing you. Not because it shuts our families up, not because the internet loves us, but because you make this ridiculous life worth living. Will you marry me again, properly this time? Her eyes fill. She laughs through the tears. Only if there is cake, she says. There will be cake. He promises. Then yes, she says. Every day, every draft, every rewrite. Yes. He slides the ring onto her finger. It fits next to the gold band like it was always meant to be there. They kiss on the stage where her story just found its way into the world. Two accidental partners, who turned a mistaken date into a real life, messy and bright and theirs. Outside, the marquee glows against the New York night. Accidental vows. She smiles up at it as they step into the street together. The title started as a joke. Now it is their truth. And Lena, scriptwriter of her own life, knows this is not the end. It is only the end of the first season.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.